January 6, 2026. The Caribbean looks like a textbook display of American power. Carrier strike groups on station, destroyers forming missile screens, surveillance aircraft circling endlessly. Washington believes the operation is nearly complete. Maduro is gone. Caracas is under pressure. On the surface, this looks like a familiar story. Overwhelming U.S. force applied to a regional crisis. But while American cameras are focused on Venezuela, something far more consequential is happening far beyond the Caribbean. In Tehran, Moscow, and Beijing, secure lines light up. These leaders are not debating whether to intervene, they are coordinating how to respond. And in that moment, what began as a U.S. strike against a single regime quietly evolves into the most dangerous geopolitical realignment since the early Cold War. Russia moves first, not with speeches, but with logistics. Within hours of the initial strikes, satellite imagery shows heightened activity at Russian airfields long associated with overseas arms deliveries. Transport aircraft begin flying routes that intelligence analysts recognize immediately. Caracas becomes a destination again, not symbolically, but materially. Cargo manifests aren't public, but the pattern is unmistakable. Air defense resupply, aviation munitions, electronic warfare components. Russia understands Venezuela is more than a partner. It is a strategic foothold in the Western Hemisphere. Lose it, and Moscow loses leverage it spent 2 decades building. Worse, it sets a precedent Russia cannot afford, that U.S. military power can unilaterally erase Russian-aligned governments anywhere on the globe. For the Kremlin, this isn't about Maduro, it's about deterrence, credibility, and survival in a system where power is respected only when it is defended. Iran's entry into the crisis changes the character of the war entirely. Tehran's statement condemning U.S. action is brief, but the language is deliberate. Armed aggression, sovereign state, necessary support. These are not empty words. Iran has built an entire military doctrine around operating under sanctions, blockades, and overwhelming Western pressure. It knows how to move weapons invisibly, how to arm partners indirectly, how to bleed a superior force without confronting it head-on. The same networks that supplied drones and missiles across the Middle East can be repurposed. The same playbook used against U.S. interests elsewhere can be adapted to South America. And unlike Russia or China, Iran brings something uniquely destabilizing: ideological commitment. Tehran does not just oppose U.S. dominance strategically, it defines itself in opposition to it. That makes Iran willing to take risks others hesitate to consider. China, meanwhile, plays a quieter but potentially decisive role. Beijing avoids dramatic military gestures, but its interests in Venezuela are enormous. Decades of loans, oil-backed agreements, and infrastructure investments hang in the balance. A U.S.-installed government could reopen every contract, renegotiate every debt, rewrite every agreement. From Beijing's perspective, allowing that to happen would signal weakness not just in Latin America, but across the developing world. So China moves the way it always does, through leverage. Diplomatic shielding at the United Nations, economic lifelines to keep Venezuelan systems functioning, technology transfers that sit comfortably in legal gray zones, satellite data, cyber tools, dual-use systems that blur the line between civilian and military. China doesn't need to fire a missile to shape the battlefield, it just needs to ensure Venezuela doesn't collapse. Together, these 3 actors form something NATO has not truly confronted in this theater, and functional anti-US alignment with complementary strengths. Russia supplies the hardware and doctrine. Iran supplies asymmetric expertise and risk tolerance. China supplies money, technology, and diplomatic insulation. This is not a formal alliance signed on paper. It is more dangerous than that. It is an alignment born of shared pressure, shared enemies, and shared stakes. Venezuela becomes the catalyst that locks these interests together in real time.
For NATO planners, this is the nightmare scenario, a regional intervention that refuses to stay regional. Resources meant for one theater suddenly feel insufficient when every move reverberates globally. Pressure in the Caribbean now connects to pressure in the Middle East and the Indo-Pacific. Escalation in one place risks retaliation in another. Strategic clarity dissolves, political unity strains. The United States may still dominate militarily, but dominance no longer guarantees control over outcomes. Every decision now carries second and third order consequences. What makes this moment especially dangerous is that none of this required a formal declaration of war between major powers. No Russian troops landed in Venezuela. No Iranian missiles were launched at U.S. bases. No Chinese warships challenged American carriers. And yet, the balance shifted. This is how modern power blocks solidify, not through treaties, but through shared confrontation, sanctions, proxy wars, economic warfare, military pressure. Venezuela crosses a threshold because it represents direct U.S. force against a state embedded in this emerging network. The irony is sharp. For years, Western analysts argued that Russia, China, and Iran were too divided, too mistrusting, too ideologically different to form a meaningful bloc. Venezuela proves the opposite. Shared pressure erases differences. Shared risk creates alignment. And once alignment hardens under fire, it doesn't easily dissolve. The United States can still achieve tactical success in Venezuela. It can control airspace, it can project power, it can influence outcomes on the ground. But the strategic cost has risen dramatically, because this war is no longer just about Venezuela's future. It's about whether U.S. power can still act without triggering global counter-alignment. And that question now has a very different answer than it did just weeks ago. The anti-U.S. bloc did not suddenly appear in 2026. It has been forming for years, shaped by sanctions regimes, proxy wars, and economic pressure. Venezuela simply forced it into the open. Lines were crossed, positions were taken, and once that happens, the world does not return to the way it was before. This is not the war NATO planned for, but it is the one that just arrived. And it will define how power is contested far beyond the Caribbean. If you want clear daily breakdowns of the alliances, weapons, and strategies reshaping global power right now, make sure you're subscribed and notifications are on, because this story is only just beginning.